so much history from that era between these two teams, and that is the rivalry that is renewed tomorrow night. But as you pointed out in our meeting this morning, Alan, there is more recent history between these two as well.
Absolutely is, when you consider they had a 7-game series last season, one that the Knicks took a 2-0 lead. That Game 3 was one of the great Game 3s you'll ever see when it comes to a team facing the potential of being down 0-3. And then the Knicks were seconds away from it until Nembhard hit a great shot. Then this thing goes to 7. Why? Knicks had a couple of injuries. They had a Game 7 where they were they were put together by gum and glue. In this game, Josh Hart's playing with an injury. But you saw Tyrese Halliburton give you a little bit of that Reggie Miller feel. Walked in the building, into Madison Square Garden for a Game 7 wearing that shirt with Reggie Miller with the choke sign, and he put up a great performance. Hit 6 threes in that game. Talking to the crowd, was that his moment that he became a Garden villain?
Advantage Indiana coming off of last season. These are two teams that weren't supposed to be here. All year long, we were talking about Boston and Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. Funny thing happened on the way to this point. It's the Knicks and the Pacers. And here's what Stephen A. Smith was saying yesterday about the Pacers coming back to Madison Square Garden.
There is a different flavor, a different vibe that forces the opposition at times to shrink, okay? And I believe that that is what is going to happen in this series when it counts most.
It's interesting, really, right? Madison Square Garden is the biggest stage in the sport. For as bad as the Knicks have generally been for the last quarter of a century, it does remain, like they'll say, it's like playing Broadway. And I think it's sort of, it separates players, has been my experience watching it. There are some guys who love it, who rise to that. And there were some, as Stephen A. is saying, who do shrink on that stage.
Yeah, man, the Garden, like, I had a small stint there, right? We didn't make the playoffs, but the one thing that I admired is every night is sold out. Every night is sold out, so you have to come. Like, these fans are into every game. But this stage right here is like, it's immaculate. Like having all the superstars on the front row and like having all the Knicks greats just come out, like it's a different feeling. But as a player, if I'm Tyrese Halliburton, if I'm Pages, if I'm Siakam, I want to play my best. This is what I've been waiting for right here, to implement my name as one of the greatest Indiana Pacers, to go into the Garden right now. And when everybody counted us out and be able to win this series, like, how do you look at the Indiana Pacers after that?
Well, yeah, go.
He has had brilliant games in the Garden, and he has had terrible games.
So about Halliburton.
Yeah, Halliburton.
Yes.
Because I think it's everything with him, right? It all starts with him because the crowd already feels a certain way about him, and they are giving him a little bit of that Reggie Miller treatment that only, if you think about it, since Reggie Miller, only Trae Young has felt this.
Yeah.
Only he has felt this, but Tyrese Halliburton starting to. His Game 1 in that series last year, awful. His Game 2, brilliant. Right. He hit 7 threes. His Game 5, the Knicks took a 3-2 lead in the series. His Game 5, he was terrible in that game. I mean, really bad, but his 7, that is the one that you wonder, does he build off of that knowing I've had success in this building, I've clinched a series in this building, and does he generate more of that Reggie Miller energy in this series and turn it into even more drama like we remember from the 90s?
So I want to give credit to our man, Brian Windhorst. So at the very beginning of the playoffs, literally the day the playoffs were starting, all of our analysts will send in notes. I was reading his notes, and his notes on Indiana were, this is a title contender hiding in plain sight. Because they got off to such a bad start this season, they were never one of the top seeds. They were never taken as seriously as they should have been. Yeah. Going back to the beginning of January, they have been as good as any team in the East, maybe as good as any team in the NBA, or close to it. Yeah. They have stampeded through these playoffs, running through Milwaukee and Giannis, running through Cleveland. Who has the advantage in your mind as this series opens tomorrow night, the Knicks or the Pacers?
I got to go with that home court in the Garden. Like, I think that's the difference in this series. I think guys will – I think the guys from New York understands the mission right here. Like, they haven't been in this spot in so long, right? Like, we need guys like Kent to really step up and really show that he's one of the best bigs in the league. He's averaging 19 and 11 right now during the playoffs. He has to take that up. During the regular season, he's a 24 and a 13 guy. Like, he has to play to that style of basketball. And I think if you could get him to play at that level, I think the Knicks win this series.
You saw that in Game 6. Destiny and faith are not just dancers at Rick Cabaret. It is also something that the Knicks are feeling right now. This team is feeling that right now. And that's why I agree with you. And I feel like there is a revenge factor here, a little bit of one. They remember what happened. The Knicks know Brunson got hurt in Game 7. Hart was hurt. OG Anunoby had no hamstring. They didn't have Mitchell Robinson. They look back at that series and say, we weren't whole. We're whole now. The Knicks say they are fully healthy. And when they are fully healthy, they feel like they can beat anyone. And the other part of it that you have to add, without trying to say what the Pacers have done has been remarkable. But in the last 2 playoff years, the series they have won, they have beaten injured teams. The Cavaliers, they weren't healthy. They were all banged up. So that is also something to think about. They've beaten the Bucks twice. They've been banged up. The Knicks were banged up last year. They face a fully healthy team for the first time since they faced the Celtics. How does that match up, and can the Knicks take advantage of it?
Quick final word.
But I think Indiana is different than every team that's been in the playoff. They are a real team. They're not predicated on one guy getting a basket or 2 guys getting they're predicated on everyone playing well. Like, they can play 10 guys. No other team in this playoff can do that. So I think they do show problems to the Knicks because they definitely struggled with Detroit Pistons early, and we've seen how that team aspect can be something a little shaky for the Knicks.
Look, the history of this rivalry is epic. I have a feeling this series is going to be epic as well.
Expect here at the Garden. The Knicks now go home.
Stops on a dime, launches, oh yeah!
Pure joy here at Madison Square Garden. For the first time in 2.5 decades, the New York Knicks are going to a conference final.
Well, this core group has had enormous success and obviously will fall short. And it'll be interesting to see who comes back next year. Do they make changes?
All right, it is time for today's Green List, which is brought to you by Hidden Valley Ranch. And if you know me, you know there's nothing I love more than the history of sports. We have the Knicks and the Pacers getting set to start tomorrow night in the NBA's Final Four. If you go back to the 90s, there may not have been a greater rivalry in the sport. And so all 5 of our top moments in the Green List come from that era. And it really started with this, at number 5, first round of the 93 playoffs. John Starks and Reggie Miller not seeing eye to eye, or at least in this case, seeing forehead to forehead. John Starks with the headbutt. He was ejected. Reggie scored 36. Pacers won that game. Knicks won that series. That's number 5. That's where it began. Number 4, we go to Game 5 of the 94 East Finals. The Knicks have a 12-point lead going to the 4th quarter. And then Reggie Miller scored 25 points in the period, multiple long threes, and the legendary look at Spike Lee, who was just pure collateral damage. Pacers won that game, took a 3-2 lead in the series. But the Knicks would fight back to win Game 6. That brings us to number 3 on the Green List. They forced a Game 7 in that series, and here was the moment. Marv Albert on the call.
Here's Starks. Starks with the
Patrick Ewing with the putback. One of the great moments of his career. It put the Knicks up for good. It led to a wild celebration on the floor. The Knicks went to the NBA Finals for the first time in 21 years. They would lose to the Rockets in 7. Now, number 2 on our list, the 99 Conference Finals. The Cinderella Knicks down 3 points late. And then this happened. Tom Hammond on the call.
Ward had it tipped. Johnson made a good catch. Johnson.